So let's start the meeting at 7 o'clock. Of the Township of Nairn and Hyman. It's Monday, December 12th at 7 p.m. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest and the general nature?
No. Item 6F.
So we just record it. Anyone else?
No.
Is it due to a family member? Is it due to a family member?
Yeah.
Your interest?
There are no delegations. Is there any discussion arising from the previous council minutes? No. So be it resolved that the following council minutes be accepted as presented. Regular council meeting and minutes of November 15th, 2022. Wayne, Austin, who's to do it? Okay.
Do the same.
Yeah, moved. Oh.
Oh, you have to go
actually-
around.
Yes, so we'll just.
Oh, you can just ask if everyone's.
Okay, so everyone in favor?
There you go. This is
Okay,
just
so,
to
so now
accept.
we're on the minutes and reports, and this is to, accept the minutes and reports of 6A to H, as received. All in favor? And so then we go individually. Yeah. So then, we have the 2023 building inspection services agreement. Does anyone have any comments about that?
That's the building inspection services?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, at $62 and change, that's a bargain. That's fine.
Anyone else? So, be it resolved that council receives the CAO report of 2022-47 for information, and further that council approves the memorandum of agreement for building inspection services between the township of Sauble Spanish Rivers and the township of Nairn and Hyman and the township of Baldwin. And that the mayor and the CAO be authorized to execute the attached agreement, which will be adopted by bylaw at the next council meeting. All in favor?
Gonna ask a request, next meeting, could we have the mics so we can? I think I can have a hard time hearing.
Yeah, I have
you.
a hard time.
Can you hear?
I can speak up too.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I can just barely hear you.
Okay,
I think the fridge is running.
I can talk louder. So next, we have the public input received from the orchard. So,
You just open it up for discussion.
yeah, so we all saw the feedback that we received about the orchard. Let's start with discussion about it. How did you feel about our feedback? Moving forward,
My only concern is where you want to have it.
yeah.
Yeah, we haven't decided. We can, through you, Madam Mayor, we can go through, a good process and decide which is the best place. Absolutely, yeah, exactly. I would have one comment, Madam Mayor. Overall, the people that are very happy about it are very happy. There's a few, that have concerns about the bears. But, we had a master's in health science, give her approval. I think that carries a lot of weight, that's all. Public health.
Yeah, so yes, you're referring to the letter we referred or received from public health.
Yeah. That's a big endorsement in my opinion.
I mean, you gotta know the service stuff.
No, they actually approved it. They thought it was a great idea. Oh, it's in one of the letters that's attached. Sorry. And it's, yeah, they give up. I think it's a great idea. I think it's just a matter of finding the right
The
location.
right location, absolutely.
That's, you know, and I think when it was put out there, it was put out there to try and find the right location and find a, you know, it wasn't set in stone. We were going here, there, or anywhere, but let's find a spot for it, right?
Right, you know, our mandate that we gave last meeting was to get feedback, and we
That's
did, right? And people were interested, for good or bad. Counselor Austin?
Ye had mentioned earlier, and we didn't put it on here about the ball field, at the back of the ball field. That would be away from everybody, so you might not get much criticism for putting it down there.
Yeah, absolutely, and actually, that is my personal preferred site, and I'll tell you why. I'd like to incorporate the mayor's idea of a small park. And that property is big enough that we could have trees and incorporate the little park and maybe even save one of the ball fields. I don't know. We have to first maybe get our public works people to do some test holes to see exactly where the dump is. And we're gonna have to do that anyway, because apparently
Counselor Despatie, I'm just gonna interrupt for a second.
Okay.
There could just be some potential contamination at
Yes,
the site.
absolutely.
That's how we're gonna.
yes, absolutely. That's why we have to do some test holes, which my understanding is that we're gonna end up having to do that through different legislation. And if we find, because I was told perhaps under the small playground that's there is no contamination. There was never any dump there. I was told perhaps the dump is farther on the second ball field.
Counselor Despatie, let's just try to refer to it as potential
Potential,
contamination. Because
absolutely.
we don't really know. I'm wondering,
We don't.
CAO Ketchba, do you have experience with soil samples or the cost thereof, or we would just have to look into it, or?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, we have done some soil sampling for road works before. It is somewhat costly. But potentially we could incorporate it with another project that's a road project perhaps, so we wouldn't have to pay as much mobilization, demobilization costs, but I do believe that that would be the wise course to do some sampling if that's the chosen site, just to remove any potential issues going forward,
Regarding contamination.
potential contamination.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
If my memory is correct, the main part of that dump itself would be where the building is.
Counselor Austin, we're just going to refer to it as potential contamination, so there's a possibility of it.
The dump, the main part of the dump itself, you can call it what you want. It's been gone for how many years? Since we had the new dump. Most of the stuff up in the ball field is scrap material. I mean, Rod was probably working on that project too. We put all in the posts for the fence around the ball field. That whole thing was done.
And let's understand, I mean, if we were planting trees, it wouldn't be the issue, it's that they're apple trees, and then there would
That's right.
be human
Correct.
consumption,
Correct.
right? So that's, and maybe I don't know enough about.
Plant the trees and
Potential.
test the apples after.
No.
The deer will have them anyway. It's good.
But if we're talking, Madam Mayor, about any site. We have to make sure it's the best site for the community. That's, you know, we're not gonna rush into this. We've got all winter and spring, so.
So does anyone have any more comments about this?
Not this thing.
So at this point, do we just want to set it aside
I
and
just acknowledge that we've received feedback.
and we have?
And that the council will look. at
It's really the
decision-
location.
Yeah, at the location decision at a future council meeting.
So do we, I need to write that out. Okay, so we're just writing out a new motion. That's really what's happening. We just didn't know how you guys would want to put that.
And I just asked the question because I don't know where you meant when it said beside the ring.
I can explain that while you write it out. So it would be on the east end of it along the road. And also beside the rink where the septic field bed ends. So I think CAO Ketchabah thought with our town superintendent that there could possibly be as many as 8 trees there. And I
No,
mean,
just
even,
wasn't sure.
we only have 5 that are possibly being donated at this point. Okay, so do I ask for someone to move it first, or
I would just
say?
read it
Okay.
first and then.
Be it resolved that council receives the CAO's report of 2022-48 for information, and further that council notes the citizen feedback received regarding the proposed community orchard project. And that council directs that the location will be determined at a future council meeting once further discussion is had. Can I have someone move that? And second it? And all in favor? Okay, next is the recycling depot. Are there any comments about that?
I would have a question, Madam Mayor. There's a proposal of maybe putting 2 locations, one at the dump site and one at the. Is there an added cost to that?
Was that actually one of the options
Are they-
to have both? Right,
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, we had, I don't know if you remember, I believe it was in July or August, we had a report. I believe it was July, the superintendent brought a report to council, just discussing some issues that were being brought to our attention over the recycling depot. One of the suggestions was, and it was discussed amongst council, that potentially a second depot could be opened at the landfill. Of course, it would be at a further cost.
It's an added.
I believe the superintendent gave an estimate of approximately $3,000 to $3,500 a year added. But since we're heading into the wind down of the Blue Blocks program, we're gonna be transitioning to a new recycling program. So currently, we're gonna be moving in from approximately 35% of our costs being covered to 100% of our costs being covered. That happens in January 1st of 2025. So we've been in discussions with the administrators of the new program to find out what our options are. If we are gonna go forward with a second depot, what approvals do we have to get it covered under this program as well? So there's been a lot of discussions. It's quite a complicated process, but we're working through it, and I'll bring a a further report to council once I have more options to move forward with that second depot. I believe it would be a good idea to look at it, that way. Not only would the campers recycling be taken care of, but our other residents that also don't have blue box collection at their house would be provided for as well. So moving forward, that's the research that we're working on. Thank you.
So you're saying that eventually, possibly, we would have two sites at the dump and at Sand Bay Campground.
Through you, Madam Chair, that's a possibility if that's what council wants to discuss. Or things could stay the same if that's what council wants to do, or there's other options we could look at.
Do we, that contract that comes up with Sand Bay Campground, it's due at the end of the month,
That's
and
correct.
we have to give them 30 days.
That's correct.
So obviously we can't give them 30 days for December 31st. Being the 12th today. I find as new to the council, it doesn't give us much time to look at it either or review it. Like, the other two councilors may have some more feedback than Councilor Austin and I, but looking at it, and talking to some people out there, they actually like the idea of a one-stop shop, I guess, or a one-stop garbage depot versus trucker recycling there, garbage there. It seemed to be something I heard a handful of times, and I heard it twice today, actually, so. But I guess we gotta sign a deal with Sand Bay Campground for a year, is that what it is?
Through you, Madam
Sure,
Chair?
sorry.
That's okay. I think in order to buy us time to look at the situation in depth and look at all our options, it would be my recommendation that we don't go enter into a one-year contract. That will give the new council enough time to look at the situation and perhaps get further feedback that perhaps the past council already had. But it would be my recommendation that this would buy us some time to look at other options or potentially not stop this contract, but perhaps just make our recycling program even better. That's just my recommendation.
I agree with you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, sure,
Okay.
Councilor Austin.
I'm new to this whole thing and I got a lot of questions and concerns, like this is a renewed contract. Is there no cost of living clauses or extra costs in there? Because I'm sure Sand Bay has a lot of extra costs over from 2 years ago to now. We're gonna ask him to sign a contract the same as he had from 2 years ago. Like it has, to me, I would suggest we put something out for, get information from the people up there, what they want. Do they want the recycling bins up there? If not, then we'll take it out. If they want, then we gotta negotiate with Sand Bay for a proper cost sharing program with him. Cause he apparently pays a lot of money out for recycling. He doesn't get it free.
I can speak to that.
Yeah, let's clarify that, because that's not what I understood.
So, actually, Councillor McDonald was nice enough to, bring me the costing from Sand Bay Camp. According to, Sand Bay Camp, their total costs are $5,372. So the town pays approximately $3,000 of that.
No.
They do provide a great service for us, that being said. But it also has to be said that we don't subsidize any of the other private campgrounds or businesses either. So,
Can we name some of those businesses? No.
I wouldn't feel comfortable, but,
Okay, no, that's fine.
any other private campgrounds in the area do not receive any subsidization from us. So yes, we are paying for a service. This is just a starting point of negotiation. If council would like to look at different costing, I'm more than willing to help out with that.
I believe he should be paying his costs But anything over that should be the town. He shouldn't have to subsidize the town either.
How do we ascertain what his costs are?
I'm sure we can figure that out to what they would charge him. for
Well, we
his-
have those numbers right
You've got
here.
that all.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, so
So we are paying for more than half of the costs, the town, for his business and to provide us
we
a
are paying
service.
for some of his.
Yes,
And then we should
well, I think
have
it's
to-
shared. It's a shared
Yeah.
service,
More than half.
more than half.
Well, to some extent, does he own the box or do we?
It's a rental.
That would be the recycling company's bid. That'd be GFL's or
I know he had to get it made. I don't know who paid for it, the town or.
GFL paid for that.
Is
It's a
it?
GFL bid for sure.
Okay,
Yeah, there's a rental cost breakdown for his bin.
Counselor McDonald?
Yeah. The reason why we went with Warner, because we were in a
Counselor McDonald,
jackpot.
I want to remind you not to use anyone's name.
Sandy.
Oh, Sandy, okay. I have a hard time with that. Okay, Sandy, he did a big favor for us when he took that over, eh? We were in a mess there, we had recycling bins there. It wasn't well looked after, there was garbage in it, and then the recycle wouldn't pick it up, and so. Warner, I don't know if we approached Warner or Warner approached us. and-
Counselor McDonald?
Oh,
Sandy Camp, Sandy Camp.
Yeah,
oh, I'm the old fashioned type. Anyway, yeah. So I wouldn't like just to take it away from him, because he did us a big favor at that time. And he looked after it, that we had no problems, I never had any complaints about his place, anytime I went up there, I looked at it, it's all clean, neat, tidy, no garbage laying around. In the winter time, the walkways are all shoveled, but I wouldn't want to take it away from him, I would work with having something at the landfill site, all right, but I wouldn't think I'll agree to anything taken away from him.
Now, when I was speaking to people campaigning, I know there was a lot of information that people were sharing with me. I know some people felt pretty strongly about it. I couldn't find it in my notes. I just knew that the recycling was somewhat of an issue, or the history of it, maybe not currently where it is. But I don't feel that we have a whole lot of choice, given the timeline that we're under at this point.
No,
I don't think we could make much of a change now, especially when we have to renew immediately. I don't know if I can, okay, Counselor Austin.
My suggestion is we defer this for, say, 2 months, because Christmas is gonna make it too difficult, but put notices out to the people up there as to what they would like to see, and give Warner time, Sand Bay time to look at his costs. And then we have something to work with from there and give them a contract. If there's an increase, fine. If there isn't, fine, that's.
it's a 1-year contract, right?
Yeah,
that's what I'm
That's what
recommending.
I'm
It,
Yeah.
it's up to council if they want to do a longer.
But that's
one.
kind of what it's been in the past, right?
It's been up to 3 years. It was just to give us enough time to make a proper decision on how to move forward. But if
So-
council feels like they want to extend it, that's council's decision.
My whole thing with it is, we don't know the costs, and we don't have the figures, we just throw it at us. I'd like to see more information on it before we make the decision.
It was part of.
Yeah, there was
the
some
report.
numbers in there.
But yeah, I can certainly present
so
that.
that
to
other
council.
information that's being circulated, you have it, and Counselor McDonald has it, so are we accepting it as?
You're right, it should have been circulated to everyone, my apologies.
I didn't realize that. I had that for quite a while, and I kind of forgot about it. And when this came up again, it was in July, and then I thought it was over with because I didn't hear no more about it since July, But, I talked to Warren, I talked to Sandy, and he gave me that there. And I just didn't bring it to the office.
So can I just ask, how do we know about the accuracy of the figures?
Oh, we don't know.
Okay,
I just to go with
so
dealing with
I
more,
think-
we're with them that.
I think
it's,
from here, I think what I'm hearing is a possibility of deferring it for 2 months to get more feedback from Sand Bay area residents. Or we sign the 1-year contract and throughout the year, we just go over everything again. Or for the first time for most of us. And see if there's something that we can do a bit better. Does everyone want to speak? We'll take turns and speak to which way you might want to go. Counselor David.
Well, I'd like the CAO's recommendation for that.
We
What
already,
is her timeline?
yeah, the 1 year.
1 year?
That was my
Counselor
recommendation.
McShay.
That's,
I would go with the 1 year.
Counselor McDonald.
Well, I was going to go with him, but it'd be tied then.
There was no time,
Eh?
no time is supposed to be done.
Pardon?
There is no time. You're done.
Oh, no, she's for it.
No.
2 years?
She
You,
has to
no,
go.
it would be
Oh,
2
yeah.
months if we defer the decision for 2 months, or we defer the decision for 1 year
Yeah, I'm voting between us.
on 2.
Or
months.
with,
I'm suggesting 2 months to get the information. If we did say for 1 year and Sand Bay said no, 30 days we're done.
Then
we're
we have a
in
big
real mess.
problem.
So let's go with 2 months and get our information and go back and just extend the contract.
I think, CAO Ketchba, I think your reasoning for a year was that it's relatively complicated. I think you explained it to me that there was funding at stake and that can take a while to, deal with. Does 2 months seem like enough time?
We,
You can say no.
we can do our best to discuss with Warner, or sorry, Sam Camp, what what his thoughts are.
You really just think a year is the best?
My recommendation is to go forward for a year. Obviously, if Sand Bay Camp would like to negotiate, that could be an issue. So,
Okay, well, if I use this motion,
we'd have to write a new one.
we would, because no, it would be for, I'm suggesting.
Oh,
doing
okay.
this one,
Okay, then,
But we would change the first and
Yeah.
second.
so if Counselor McDonald and Counselor Austin would
Do
not
not.
want to first and second that, we'd have to change it.
Okay, so, be it resolved that the CAO's report of 2022-49 be received for information, and further that council resolves to renew the recycling services with Sand Bay Camp for 1 year with the same financial terms as the previous commencing January 1st, 2023, and that the mayor and CAO are authorized to sign the agreement, which will be presented to council to enact by bylaw at the January 9th, 2023 council meeting. And I request an open vote, and all in favor?
Or you go.
Oh, because it's open?
Yeah.
Counselor Day Petit, are you in favor? Counselor Bay, sorry, I've got you're in different. Counselor Austin?
What did you request? I'm sorry.
It was for, that we renew the contract for 1 year, not the 2 months that you were suggesting.
A recorded vote?
Yeah. Are,
I'm against that.
you're against that?
And I'm against that too. I like to get it done for Warner's sake. I mean, for.
And I am for it.
So then it's good.
It's carried, so can I use you to as a
The
first?
first and second, yeah.
Okay. But I appreciate that you two had a plan and an idea, and that was, what are we doing next? Emergency Management Program Review. Is this something we need to just, okay, well, is there any, thing you want to say about the Emergency Management Program Review? Or do we just accept this?
It's up to you.
Well, let me read it. Be it resolved that the CAO's report of 2022-50 be received for information, and further that council resolves to enact bylaw 2022-33 to adapt the updated emergency response plan, and that at the request of our community emergency management coordinator, we confirm that Jeff Edwards is the chair of the Emergency Management Program Committee, and that Melanie Bilodeau is the emergency information officer for the years of 2022 and 2023. All in favor? I just thought might be harder. Oh, next we have establishment of committees. So there's several different motions here, right? Yeah. Okay, so I think the first issue with the Parks and Recreation Committee is discussion if we want to keep it the same setup as we've had the previous 4 years. So it's basically a separately running committee. Any comments?
Did it work well?
Yes.
It works, don't mess with it.
He's doing a good job.
Yeah.
I'm still doing a good job at it. I need to be able to hand it over. So we would leave it functioning as it is. Who would like to be appointed to the Parks and Recreation Committee? Anyone else?
Can you be chair and?
No, I would not chair it. And would anyone else be interested in it? Okay, so would anyone like, so all we need is one council member.
Yes, all you need is one. We would need to, so if
Mhm.
you're volunteering for it, you'd have to get someone to move and second the motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no one else wants to join me in this super fun adventure? Would anyone like to first and second that it would be me on the Parks and Recreation Committee? And was that your hand, Councilor McDonald? Okay, be it resolved that the following council member be appointed to the Community Parks and Recreation Committee. Amy Mazie, all in favor?
You're doing a good job, a terrific job.
Well, I can't keep it up, so, but we have some people interested. But I don't have a list of the names. I had them somewhere. So just as we're about to get the community name, the names of people in our community that have volunteered to be on Parks and Recreation, please remember you cannot say their names.
We can say their names,
Oh.
just can't discuss any personal.
We can say their names.
Yes, yes. If you
So-
are appointing them,
So if we want to discuss details, we can go into closed
we
session.
need to wait for closed session.
Oh, we're gonna do that later.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just do it all at once. So the names of the 4 people that have volunteered to be on Parks and Recreation, I can say their names,
Yes.
right? Sandra Whalen, Kate Adams Paquette, Shelley Lowry, Amy Boulanger, who actually, that was in the information, she actually doesn't live in our community. And she would come on, what would actually be her title? She wouldn't be a full member of the
She
recreation.
would just be an advisory member. So not an official member, just a part of the advisory group.
So that means we have 3 members of our committee. So to have quorum, you'd have to have 3 people there. which doesn't sound like a big deal, but I've had to cancel multiple meetings because I didn't have enough people at them. Just really frustrating. I just want to get things done.
So if you want to put out another call for more members, something we could potentially defer a decision to
As soon as we
officially
do,
form the committee.
can we add people to the committee?
It would have to go through council, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're. So do you want to wait and discuss these names in closed council? Council Petit?
How many do you need?
I think we need it, four at the most.
And are you satisfied with these 4 applicants?
As. Two of them I know personally because I have done enough events in the community that they have helped at different times. Can I give details of my experience with some of the people? That's probably too personal.
Yeah. I would for closed
So,
session,
yeah,
if
we can
that's
talk
what-
about that in close. Of course, the woman that's from out of town, I don't know her. Sorry, what was the question exactly?
My question was, do you need all of them? Are you satisfied with all of them? If you're comfortable with 2, let's pass those 2. And, we'll deal with the other applications that we can.
Why don't we talk about this in closed session? Do I need to move that?
Yeah, we could just,
Keep it all together?
yeah. I'll rewrite it for to discuss it.
Okay, so do we move that right now? to
No,
discussion?
no,
Okay.
later.
Okay, so our next is the Public Works Committee and the Planning Economic Development Committee, which will be combined, and I think all of us would be on it.
It's just a-
Yeah, we could do it differently. How do you feel about combined? That's how it's been done in the past.
I go with
You- you-
I'll
Okay.
agree.
Be it resolved that Public Works Committee and the Planning and Economic Development Committee be formed as a combined committee, and further that committee will be established as a committee of the whole. All in favor?
And does council need direction on how often to meet?
Yes, how often would you like to meet? I think you recommended once a month.
Yeah, I go along with once a month because we got all the counselors here on it, so. And, there's lots of things that goes on that I like to know and I hear afterwards, see, so.
So even if we call it for once a month, if we find that we really only need to meet every other month, we could probably change it. Yeah. So once a month. And then we have a Property Standards Committee. Which is the clerks of the 3 neighboring townships, and maybe CAO Ketchba, you could kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Through you, Madam Chair, thank you. So in the past, term, I was given some wrong information at first. I was told that the Public Standards Committee was established as a committee of the whole. However, in discussion with the other CAOs, that's not actually the way it was established. It was made up of the CAOs and clerks of all the surrounding communities. So it was the clerk of Espanola, Southwell Spanish, Baldwin, and the clerk from here. And so it'd just be a review committee that would look at any appeals to property standards orders. So it would be, they had felt in the past that it was better to establish it that way. That way it was slightly more impartial. It wasn't having to pass potentially difficult decisions on your neighbors. So if the clerks of the other surrounding municipalities, it would be a bit more impartial. So that's how they had established it in the past. It was only as needed and it was never needed so far. However, I do believe there's one issue coming up. So we do need to make a decision on how this is going to be
Any discussion
established.
from about that? Counselor McVeigh? No.
Nope, I think that's a good way to do it.
Counselor Deputy?
Agreed.
Okay, be it resolved that the Property Standards Committee will be comprised of the clerks of the municipalities of the Township of Baldwin, the Township of Sauble, Spanish Rivers, the Town of Espanola, and the Township of Marion. All in favor? Then we
Let's
have
see
the
the
fire
resolution.
chief with that.
Oh, it's right here, sorry. This is just to accept them as presented. There could be discussion on them.
Okay, be it resolved that the following minutes and reports of 6F to H be accepted as presented. The fire chief's report to council, December 7th, 2022. Severian District's Public Health unapproved minutes of November 10th, 2022. 22 inspection report for the Nairn Center drinking water. All in favor? All in favor of it, just accepting them?
He declared a conflict.
So. I thought you just hadn't heard me. Any discussion about it? I better not, anyway. Any discussion about the fire chief's report to council?
Very nice pictures.
Yes, I actually thought the pictures were great, because at first I thought we should take everyone to go on a little tour. But then the pictures really do it justice, so, I thought that.
Before pictures.
Yeah, no. No, we don't wanna have those public. But yeah, I thought it was great to see in the fire hall. Any other comments with fire chief report? The public health minutes. No comments, but what about that Nairn Center drinking water report? It was like 100%. No one else was excited? It's the one thing,
When I see a report like that, unfortunately, I don't believe it.
well,
90-some%, yeah, 100%.
do you know that if something is wrong with the drinking water, we can be personally liable?
Oh,
This is not something we want. Anyway, so we've accepted them. That's right, so no discussion about the water. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing letter to council. So we're just accepting, be it resolved that the correspondence of 7A is noted as received. Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Steve Clark. All in favor to accept it? Is there anything you would like to discuss about that? I'm trying to.
There's just a discussion about Bill 23, Bill Wormholes faster.
Oh. Yes, that explains why I wasn't. Then we have the Township of Warwick. Asking for our support. Would anyone like to discuss it? So this is with CN Rail and, drainage and encouraging CN Rail to be helping with that or responsible to some extent.
I believe we should be supporting them, even though we're not on the CN rail, but they deal with the same problems we deal with CPR.
That's what I thought, that we want to encourage railways to.
I would even add the Madam Mayor, through you. CN travels through our province, so why wouldn't they assist with the municipalities and the various issues? They're a citizen, they might not be a citizen of this province, but they use our province to make money, so put it back into our province. I agree.
yeah, they're taxpayers and they should be.
Any other comments? Be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the township of Nairn and Hyman endorse and support the resolution of the Township of Warwick calling on CN Rail to act as a partner to municipalities and agriculture in Ontario and reconsider its position that the Drainage Act does not apply to it as a public entity, and that a copy of this motion be sent to the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, the CN Manager of Public Affairs, Ontario and Atlantic Canada, Daniel Salvatore, the President and CEO of CN Rail, Tracy Robinson, and the Director of Government Relations, Railway Association of Canada, Gregory Foltz. All in favor? The next is establishing an emergency management program and response plan. Any discussion about that? Counselor McVeigh and I participated in our emergency plan
Yes.
practice night.
Would you have more than
Sure.
through you?
Yeah.
Thank you. As Madam Mayor and Deputy Mayor were able to meet our CEMC. He was giving us training and updating all our emergency plans. He's also offered to come and do some training with council if they're interested in understanding what council as a whole's role is part if there's an emergency. So if you'd like to give me your comments, if you'd like me to set up training with him, it would be in the new year, of course. But he has made himself available if council would like that.
I would, absolutely.
I agree with it.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea, especially it's just like the fire department. If there's an emergency, we might not all be here, right? We need to, I think if all of us are aware, and are off, will be. So be it resolved that being a bylaw of the Township of Neuenheimen to establish an emergency management program and emergency response plan, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed in open council, and its number shall be 2022-33. All in favor? We don't have anything for information only, so then we're to other business. And Counselor Austin has requested discussion. Let's start with number 1. And that is, so do we have a motion or we're writing it as we go?
I have a few sample questions.
Okay, but actually, Counselor Austin, if we could start with you, if we could just start with you explaining the question period that you would like at the end of the agenda.
Okay. In previous years in council, we always had an open session at the end of council to encourage the public to have a say in what happened tonight, as well as previous items that had gone on, or if they have a question. I mean, at times they got out of hand, but they need to be controlled. And my suggestion was that we allow up to 3 people to speak at the end of the council meeting if they have a question or a comment to make on what we did during the night. And I think I can speak for most people here. How many people come to a council meeting when you have no say at all? Have you any interest in showing up? How many of you showed up to, when you weren't a councillor, to come to a meeting when they tell you to be quiet and you can't say a word? I think we should encourage the public to come and allow them to have a say, a short say. I had put in 3 people allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes. And if it, say, got improper wording or whatever, the mayor would stop it immediately. And that is my suggestion, to try and encourage an audience here to get people interested in what has happened in the public. Maybe we would have had somebody tonight to speak on the apple orchard. They would have come out publicly to speak. It would have been good. Whether they agreed or disagreed.
So, yeah, so our practice right now is, just as I have dealt with a few different people that have been upset and wanted to bring matters to council, is that anyone at this point can call the office a week in advance, tell them what the subject is, be a delegation, which would be early on in our agenda, and speak for 10 minutes. So that's what we have available at this point. How often would you say CAO? Kachwa, how often has that been acted on in the last year or 4 years?
Through you, Madam Chair, it's been quite rare, for a citizen member to come officially before council to do that. This is just my opinion, that people feel that the process is
Daunting?
daunting and perhaps too formal. However, the process was put in place by the former council in order to keep order to the agenda, and the council was prepared for what they were going to speak to. That's just what the history that was given to me.
Councillor McVeigh.
So presently, right now, we already have, if somebody wants to get on the agenda, they can have a 10-minute time slot. So that is already there.
They do have to let us know a week in
A week,
advance.
That's right.
Whereas I think, Counselor Austin, they wouldn't have to give us really any notice.
No, and they can ask a question, but don't expect an answer because we aren't prepared for it. But you can get the answer next meeting or a week later from the CEO.
Well, so if I understand the process correctly, it's for people to bring issues to us, but we don't need to respond right away.
No.
And in fact, you would need even a motion to bring it to the next meeting. So some might be so trivial that it can just be referred to, the town office might be able to just deal with it immediately. Councilor
Yes,
McDonald.
I agree with Wayne. I didn't feel comfortable when the taxpayers, they did come and can't speak, or they gotta do it in orderly, but I mean, and that's the chair's job, is to make sure they do it orderly. And I have no problem, I never did have any problem with the taxpayers coming here. Talking, and they ask you questions, I don't, sometimes they go through you to a counselor. And I have no problem with it, we work for them. And the taxpayers, I work for them, and I bring their issues to the table sometimes if they don't wanna, sometimes they feel shy, they don't wanna come to council meeting, and I bring it here for them. So I have no problem with them after the meeting, have any discussions.
Councilor Day Petit.
I'm not against the idea. But I wouldn't want it to become a zoo that it could be. With maximum 3 minutes, maximum 3 people. Maybe we could try.
Well, if I understand the process correctly, if we adopt this, if we want to look at it again or change it within a year, we need to even bring a motion and have majority to even change that. Does that make sense? Did I explain it well enough?
Well, the same as what we're doing right now.
Yes.
If we have a motion to
Even
change it.
talk about it again. So if we decide something now, then it's gonna last for at least a year. Otherwise, we have to have a motion to even think about talking about it again. Councilor McDaniel.
I'm all for it. I don't think, after hearing, the CFO's, stance on it, it doesn't happen very often. So I can't see it being 5-10 people standing here waiting to get their 3 minutes and having to decide what 3 get it.
Well, there would only be 3 people.
Yeah, but if you had 5 or 10 people here, what 3 do you pick?
Yeah,
Because they're not on the agenda, so they're showing up.
There you go.
So now you have to decide,
Good point.
is it, and I'm gonna pick on Counselor Rod just because I haven't picked on him yet. Is it Counselor Rod's like this, like, we have to have a plan for
do
that, right?
we
You've
have a
you've got,
registration?
you've got 6 people staying there that wanna talk, but we only can talk to 3 as per the motion.
Yeah.
So then who do you pick? And who, are they gonna be mad at Rod when he leaves because we didn't pick him? Are they gonna be mad at Trevor? Are they gonna be mad at you because they didn't get their, so that's something to look at, right? If you did have something that came up in the community, we'll use the apple orchard, 20 people don't like it, and they show up here. and 4 people like it. How do we pick 24 people sitting here? How do we pick we pick the ones that like it?
Very good point.
Hey, we pick the ones that like it.
Yeah, very good point, Counselor. That's a dilemma.
I don't see it happening. I see one person coming to council meeting. Thank you very much. But it could be, right?
Well, it could be. In the past, no, it was always pretty well done. We always had somebody in the crowd out of turn, talking, but I mean, the chair controls the meeting.
Right.
So
And if-
Councilor McDonald, that's not an encouraging sign when you said there's always someone that speaks out of
Oh,
turn.
Well,
And
very
even
well.
Councilor Austin, you said as well that what did you say, it can get out of hand.
Mm.
So I think that's the concern.
I
Yeah,
think we can control it. I don't see it being an issue. I just see if 5 people showed up here tonight. Who picks the 3? Not me.
If I
Councillor
could say
Austin.
something, I would. The chair would ask on what the topic is. We don't want 3 people talking on the same topic. If there's a couple different topics there.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody, 3 people talking on the apple orchard and nobody getting to say anything on the recycling.
Right.
You know, you want.
Right, so I think we actually need like a
You would have control.
partisan policy, so I'm thinking something that. The first 3 people to sign up on the clipboard, you know, so if you get here when doors open at 6:30 and your name's down. That's just where we're not selecting and we can't be. Accused or be,
of being biased.
right, it's just random people.
Can I just ask a question? Wouldn't that be the same process then of what very similar to what we're using as a delegation?
I will say, when I was talking to people, if somewhat. People really, I think we're looking to have more people involved in our meetings, is really what it is, and there were people that literally told me. I can't say anything, it's really hard to sit through a meeting if I can't participate in any way. And I think they're not thinking of an organized, I'm angry about something, I wanna talk about it, this is the subject, like a delegation. I think they're just wanting to speak up.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, is it okay if I just bring up a point from the ombudsman about people speaking at meetings? Sure, okay, thank you. So this is from the ombudsman, .ca, that's the Ontario website forum. There was a question that we started doing some research. So there was a question directly to the ombudsman, are members of the public entitled to participate in a meeting? And so the ombudsman response was, there's no automatic right to speak or participate in a meeting. There's a distinction between a citizen's right to participate and his or her right to observe municipal government progress. The open meeting requirements set out in section 239 of the Municipal Act permit the public to observe the political process. But each municipality is required to have a procedure bylaw, which may set out a process for members to address the council. So it does make the distinction of having an open government and public being able to view. Of course, that's council's determination if they do want the public participating, but it did define whether that's actually required in each meeting. Just a little bit of background.
Well, I'd like to make a comment after hearing that. Madam Mayor,
Sure, yes.
then if the ombudsman
Ombudsman.
doesn't actually recommend that taxpayers have a right or to speak unless they use the process that's presently established, then there's no need to change it because we're doing things the way we're supposed to do it. That's my comment.
Anyone else have any other comments?
I've been on council for years now, and I enjoy when a taxpayer here, and sometimes it does get a little bit out of control, but the chair controls it. We never had no real uproar or anything, you know?
I think I just watched a council meeting that had some uproar from this year.
But, no, I like them to feel that we're working for them, and I like them to feel that they have the right to ask us questions if they want. You know,
So I guess I'm just, for us to write a motion, we can defer it, but I don't think we need to. But I do need to know generally how we're feeling. So
Well,
I
I
think
think,
Guy is clear to know to the,
Madam Mayor, it's, if I can, the Councillor Austin has a motion. Let's vote on it.
Ready to go? So would you? Do you want to?
It's already written?
Yeah, it's ready to go.
okay. So, okay, whereas council has reviewed the other business items shared by Councillor Austin requesting the procedure bylaw be amended to allow for a question period at the end of the agenda. And be it resolved that council directs that part 5, section 5.1 of the procedure bylaw 2018-39 be amended to allow for a question period to be added to the agenda before the confirmatory bylaw is passed, and that 3 members will be allowed to speak as well, will be allowed for up to 3 minutes each. Do you want me to read to
Yes.
speak? All in favor?
I have that proposal too.
Oh, sure, I'll record it. So would you like to first it? Then to second it? Well, we'll see.
Oh, do we?
Yes, sir. Oh, sorry. Okay, good. So then the second, yeah, is, brought forward. Do you want to talk about your, beach issue, Councillor Austin?
The reason I brought up the beach, first thing is because of budget items that are gonna happen, as well as the instructor we had the other day said there was grants available for the beach.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, well, he was talking to them through, I don't know, was it Northern Affairs or something that there was a good possibility of grants being available to work on the beach, so we need to know ahead of time to do this. We have a beautiful beach area down there, and a lot of you aren't aware of the whole area there. Myself and Rod are quite familiar with it, but there was always a section of the beach that was called the Rose Garden. And there was lots of rose bushes there and everything, and it's to the east of where the present beach is. And it's all been grown up with bush and everything, and you can't get to it now, so that area would have to be cleaned out. And it's a beautiful sand beach, you can go out 20 feet there to be up to your waist. Whereas now the beach in its present area is disappearing. You can, you go straight off the beach now, and 3 steps, you're in 90 feet of water. Whereas before it used to be gradual, but slowly, because of the change in the currents and everything in the rivers, it is changing that way, and I'd like to see it fixed up if there's grants available. There's a lot of issues. I mean, we can discuss cleaning up the area, putting in a new change room again that hasn't been there. There's one outhouse there, and a big issue, I know most of you have mentioned it, is the vehicles down on the beach. And we didn't have that until somehow we built a road down there. You used to walk down. The parking lot is still up above, but when you build a road, everybody's gonna drive down. Before you could get down with an ATV or sometimes a 4-wheel drive, but now they can go up and down with cars. It would be better to set a parking area and an area down there. We need, well, there's everything, picnic tables, the question I had, is there a bylaw for the use of the beach?
I think there would be an agreement with Valet.
Through you, Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair.
I know this.
I've been stuck in her. That's something that was before my time, and that was something I would like to have
Yeah.
a little bit of time to look into.
Well, something else in the bylaws, I mean, do we have a bylaw for people using the beach? Like I see signs down there, no overnight camping and stuff, is there, do we have a bylaw for that?
I never saw.
That's a
one.
very good question.
We can't enforce nothing if we have no rules. And, I don't believe we have to talk to valet about this, if we're just fixing up and doing the, means whatever our agreement is, you should just, I don't want to open up a can of worms, just fix it up and quietly do what we have to do.
Well, it just depends on the agreement.
Well,
We may have license to do many things.
We had-
but-
built change rooms and that down there years ago and done everything, and then they gradually got destroyed and then there's a picnic table.
Counselor Davis,
Where is that agreement?
I do not have it.
I never ever saw agreement, I know, Valley came to us, or we went to them, to try to, I think we wanted to buy the property, have it for Aaron Hyman. And they refused, they said that we could, like, lease it, and the way it is or not, but I never did see an agreement that wouldn't do nothing to it or anything.
So there's a lease somewhere?
I would think there is something, I would think about, Valley must have a lease, and we have something, I mean, because I can't just remember if they approach us about it or something. Or we approach them, I can't just remember how it was 3 years ago, a few years ago.
Well, Madam Mayor, if I may, I think we should find that lease before we do anything. Just in
Agree.
case.
I would think there's gotta be something in place.
Good luck.
I will do my best to locate that lease.
That's been there for years and years and years.
I mean, it's just a sign of what a great relationship we have then if it hasn't been an issue, right?
I believe you'd be going back into the 40s, the 50s. Any kind of agreement.
So,
Which file cabinet that one is.
Counselor Austin, are you asking that we set money aside or is this just
I'm asking that
preparation?
we look at it in budget terms. So that it's on the budget as a budget item and we have some kind of idea what we want to do.
Counselor oh, sorry, I was gonna ask.
No, no,
Counselor
no,
McVeigh.
no, no.
Nothing, okay.
About the rose garden there with William saying that it's around the bend, it's away from the current too, and it's all beach there, the whole thing is beach. And the main current is where the main swimming beach is now, with the water coming down, it's off into kind of a little bay there. A lot safer for little kids, that's for
Is
sure.
there a road to it, or was it access from the main?
It was-
It just access from the main one, go ahead.
There was all rose bushes in that area before, but it's all grown up with tag alters and everything now. But to clean it out and it's all sand.
Well, isn't it a administrative environment issue if we start cleaning up beaches?
We'd have to take a look at what the agreement was.
Yeah,
For
sure,
sure.
maybe trickier. So if I'm standing looking out at the water from the, well, are you sure it's to the east of the
Towards the dam.
Okay, so it's upstream. Okay, so it is where I was thinking. So what is council directing us to do, really? You've shared this information, we're thinking about it for the budget. Do we just direct that to the beach as a priority? Counselor Deputy?
Madam Mayor, I would suggest that perhaps we get a motion that we look into our legal rights to
How about our legal agreement?
our legal agreement or our legal rights under the agreement. To make modifications. And if we have that right, then put it in the budget and we'll get her done.
Look into our legal rights under the agreement to make modifications to the present beach. Is that?
And I don't
Oh,
want
budget,
beach
budget.
because beach will, just mean the beach, maybe the little
The
Park
present
area.
beach
Park
and
area.
waterfront area.
water, yeah.
concerning, a lot of it, in my idea is concerning safety.
Yeah.
'Cause, I guess if you've ever been down there, you wouldn't want to be walking up the hill when a car's coming down. It's not a,
You're right, and we don't want to be responsible for any kind of bad experience. Okay, there was one, look into our legal rights under the agreement to make modifications to the present beach and waterfront area using our budget, our upcoming budget, was that,
And put it in the budget,
say our upcoming
put
budget?
we can decide at the
Yeah.
time how much we want to spend and,
how much we get of
or we can't spend.
that gentleman that was here. He had said there was a good possibility to get money from
I could
somebody.
have a discussion with him
Yeah.
and have him direct me to the right grant.
Whereas council has reviewed the other business items shared by Councillor Austin requesting a discussion on improvements to the beach area of the Spanish River and be it resolved that council directs to look into our legal rights under the agreement with Valet to make modifications to the present beach and waterfront area using upcoming budget, all in favor. Oh, yeah, who would like to first that? Counselor Austin? And who would like to second?
I'll second it.
So we come to Counselor Despatie. The first one is about requesting crown land from the province of Ontario. So if you could speak to that, Counselor Despatie.
It would be my pleasure. So through several council meetings, I hear the same thing over and over, that the town has no property for future development. Now, I'm aware that the province gives out lands to businesses. I think we have an example right here in here. And I just heard on the news a couple of days ago, the province just gave hundreds and hundreds of acres to the city of Ottawa, and they didn't even want it. So my proposal is that the council gets together and see where there is crown land available that would be useful for the community for future development. And that our CAO make a request to have the province give it to us.
Would some of that be affected with the Huron Treaty that's got our land right around here? That's not for sale, so that treaty's been figured out with the Aboriginals? From what I understand, we can't.
I don't know.
They can't sell it till the treaty's been decided on, is
I
that,
don't know.
I'm not 100%, but I'm 99%.
CAO.
They won't give it to us till the treaty's been figured out. That's just. See it.
Yeah.
Of my-
Hang on, we're gonna have CAO catch up.
Yeah, it was part of the agenda package of September 12th, 2022. Obviously, with the new council, we hadn't had a chance to look that far back. But there was a letter that was put on the agenda dated July 28th. This is from the Ministry of Indigenous Affairs. And it did bring our attention that Ontario is in the negotiations with White First River First Nation to resolve their First Nation boundary claim. So there was an attached map to that. If you want to take a look, if anyone's interested, a large, probably 95% of Narren and Hyman's Crown land was highlighted as under review as part of that treaty. So unfortunately, we will have to wait until that treaty is established.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I thought that was strictly for mining rights.
You're correct. It was mining rights. It also is mining, sorry. The way the order reads cause I was a little bit confused about that as well. So it talks about the minister may by order sign, withdraw from prospecting, mining claim registration, sale and lease of any lands, mining rights, surface rights, or any property of the crown. And the lands shall remain withdrawn until reopened by the minister. So we do have to wait, I believe, until that treaty is resolved and then see what their decision is. So there could still be some crown lands that weren't identified, but if I remember correctly, when I opened up the map, our whole township was pretty much highlighted, so.
So my understanding was it was strictly mining rights, but okay.
Yeah, I had the same thought as well, so I did do some research with MNR, whatever that ministry is called now. MND, MNRF, so, yeah,
Okay, so that scratch that side, that idea, no problem.
So no motion with that.
Nope.
but we can certainly keep our eyes on it and just, I'll give an update as soon as we hear.
Counselor Austin.
Well,
Well-
something in the line that, Mr. DePatie was talking is, I know several times we take property back for back taxes. I think Sudbury made the same mistake that Narren did in the past. We sell off this property with no requirements on it. That
Yes, I agree
If
with that.
you
Agreed.
take property off or out for taxes, there should be a mandatory thing within a year, you've got to put a building of a certain value on it. Or you turn it back to the town.
Counselor Austin, I actually like what you're saying and I agree, but I think we're getting off topic.
Well, this is
Aren't we?
because getting the money or getting
Yeah.
the property, this.
Okay, so to get property,
For
Yeah.
future development.
Town should be taking it.
so CAO Ketchum was just telling me today that throughout COVID, there were, what is the right word, tax arrears?
Tax registration.
Yeah, there were, and we didn't collect on several properties because that's what was recommended by legal counsel,
Yeah.
I think. So we may have a few properties that come available, which, you know, you're right, and I think we could talk about a lot of different options, but I think I think we agree on that. Counselor Deputy?
Just, on the topic of requesting donations, Interfor might be willing, to give us a few hundred acres too, so we could look at them if we can find out where the properties are. It's just a thought. I'm trying to add value to our community.
Oh, Counselor Deputy, or sorry. CAO. CAO. Ketchum, did you have something to
Yeah,
add?
thank you, Madam Chair, thank you. I agree with Councillor Dick-Matty. Former council decisions were made and we did sell off a lot of property with the hope that there would be homes built on them. And as we can see, that's not happening. So I do agree that in the future, we really need to look at our, some of our land development bylaws and perhaps put requirements in that, like the city of Sudbury, you know, there's a certain time requirement to develop the land. Agreed, but we also like, Madam Chair has also brought forward, we will be starting the tax registration process with council's consent and start moving forward on some of these properties that our legal team advises to not move forward with during COVID, but now, you know, it's probably the time.
So item number 2, requesting an explanation from Hydro One regarding the numerous power. Oh, sorry, Counselor Austin.
Why can't we put Counselor DePatie's request through? No. gonna hurt.
Requesting
could.
crown land.
Yeah. Get an answer back from the government.
Well, then it says right there that they're not gonna do it though, because it's
Well,
got,
that's. They haven't got a direct request for crown land or a certain chunk of land.
We'd have to find a piece of land somewhere.
Yeah,
Well,
you couldn't say we want some land around here.
Is it as easy as finding land?
Within the
Like,
municipality, within the area.
because even if we had land, our town limits have to be at a certain location. Like, anyway, I don't.
Can I just make a suggestion for the motion? Yeah. My suggestion would be that we pull up the maps, take a look. And see if there's any areas maybe that aren't part of that treaty at the moment, and maybe we could start with those ones.
That's,
That would be my recommendation. So, you know, if we want to set a time for counselors to come in and look at the maps, we can certainly do that.
Would we bring that up at our new council, our new committee, our land?
Certainly, right.
Okay, so do we need a resolution?
Would you like a?
sure,
Yeah, if we've decided that we're gonna,
I'll move the motion that, we start looking into it.
So, what I have written is that the CEO prepare maps showing areas of interest of available crown land in the township of Narren and Hyman. And council would review at a future date.
Can you add, Crown and, Interfor property? They're a big company, they might be interested in, being a good community citizen and giving us, couple hundred acres.
So land for sale, or don't know how to put free land.
For, as a donation to the community,
There's big tax, like we can
Yeah.
cut tax receipt back to them, right?
absolutely.
So they can say they're, I don't know, what is it, $7,000 an acre, I don't know what an acre. I don't know what a lot is per year, like, per se,
Yeah,
but you can cut a receipt, and they can claim it.
A donation.
that they seem to want to. You mean that it seems
Directed at them.
yeah,
Maybe
that local
land.
forestry land,
But
county avoid.
yeah, sure. Any, possible donor, sure.
I know the mill got some acres over there. It's south of us, or, yeah, south of it. There's not much crown land now north of, or south of the river.
Okay.
In Conspect, they took 450 acres of crown land and then the rest is pretty well privately owned over there.
Okay.
And my knowledge is right.
Okay, whereas council has reviewed the other business items shared by Councilor Deputy requesting that you
A little louder, Madam Mayor, please.
Oh, sorry, council has reviewed the other business items shared by Councilor Deputy requesting that municipality apply to the province of Ontario for a large parcel of crown land, and be it resolved that council directs that the CAO prepare maps showing areas of interest of available crown land and potential land donated by local business owners to the township. All in favor? Who would like to move that?
I
Councilor
would
Deputy,
definitely like-
and second it? Okay, item number 2 from Councilor Deputy requesting an explanation from Hydro One regarding the numerous power outages. Do you want to speak?
So I've been a resident of Narren since September 2019. And even previous to that, I was a cottager here, and, I know that, since 2019, September, we are averaging about 1.25 outages per month. And that's not even counting the, planned power outages. They have, and if you drive from here to the 4 lanes, you can see trees down on the line, bringing the hydro line to 6 feet from the ground because it's stretching it. They have a horrible maintenance program. So I know that for a fact because I was talking to the hydro guy. So I think if we can, as a community,
We need to be careful how we're speaking about businesses.
if we can approach them as a community and express our concerns that there are too many outages for our residents and ask them to step up their game.
Any other discussion about Counselor
Go ahead,
Austin?
Rick.
No, Austin, Counselor Austin, you go ahead.
Me, okay, this has been brought up by many people in the past for hydro, and we're told the same thing over and over. Our infrastructure here is old and outdated, and it's in the plans, but the money isn't there at this time to do it. And it's the same thing with, like you say, the maintenance, they come along and cut a few trees once in a while. But we're gonna run into the same answer, I'm sure, but I agree with you to go ahead and ask.
Counselor McDonald?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. It's been a problem for a while, but you've thought, I mean,
Yeah.
more than 2019.
Counselor McVeigh?
I think, I was just watching a Zoom council meeting, in Nimi Township, and they did the same thing, because they're having the same issues all around the Manitoulin and all the communities there, and they come back with, that's what Hydro One came back with. Aging of power lines and lack of employment and blah, blah. Have a nice day, here's your letter.
If-
But it would not hurt to send a letter, and then we've got an answer for what somebody asks us.
If we don't complain, there'll be zero pressure on them to make arrangements to give us a better service.
Is there a more effective way to complain? Counselor, or do you have any CAO, any suggestions? CAO pitch plan?
Through you, Madam Chair, I have seen effective ways of complaining about public entities such as Hydro One. And what it takes is all municipalities banding together and putting forth motions or letters and supporting. So if perhaps council would like to put forward a motion, I feel that would have much more clout behind it than just the letter from the CAO.
Madam Mayor, that is an excellent idea that our CEO just came up with, and we can ask all the neighboring communities to back our letter. We get these requests all the time. Why can't we make one?
Is it appropriate to ask Counselor Deputy to draft the letter?
It would be, yeah.
It is appropriate. Is that something you might be interested in doing, is to do the draft of the letter that we might,
The resolution.
Say, please.
If council, they could direct him to the paragraph. yes.
okay, so be it resolved that council directs, Counselor Deputy to prepare. You have to come back. You would write it, we bring it back and approve it, then we
Yeah, you have to approve it.
to prepare a draft.
Sometimes.
So be it resolved that council directs Councillor Petit to prepare a draft of a letter to Hydro One and support.
It would be a motion.
A motion.
Yeah, it would be like the motion we support.
Oh. Okay,
Township.
a motion to Hydro One and surrounding, no, it would just go to surrounding municipalities.
And it could go, it
It
could
could go
go
to-
to Hydro One as well.
Okay, so whereas council has reviewed the other business items shared by Councilor Deputy requesting that municipality request an explanation from Hydro One for the numerous unplanned power outages. And be it resolved that council directs Councilor Deputy to prepare a draft of a motion to Hydro One and surrounding municipalities regarding unplanned power outages. All in favor?
They just don't do the maintenance like they used to.
Yeah, who would,
It's-
Councilor Deputy, would you like to first it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And who would like, or can he, since his
Um,
name is in that motion?
It would be better if
Yeah.
someone else.
Okay, would someone like to second it? All right.
One thing we have to consider here too is the greater city of Sudbury is one of the big influences with Ontario Hydro. This whole east end or west end of this Sudbury is in the same boat we are.
That's correct. I live in Ward 2 of the Greater City of Sudbury,
Yeah.
and we're on the same grid as Aaron.
Yeah, well, we're from Line River, we're from Sudbury.
The next issue Councilor Dave Petit brought forward is, requesting Baldwin Township to endorse our request to Bell and Rogers to install cell towers in our area. Would you like to speak to that, Councilor?
Specifically, our Island Township and whatever area they have, around Diamond Lake. I think if, and we were just talking about that, the last motion. If, two communities ask instead of one, maybe it's a little more, power, a little more incentive for them to, grant our request.
Would anyone like to speak to that?
We have quite a few areas, if you're familiar with the areas. The Span Bay, don't forget the Sudbury end. Towards Taunton, you have nothing unless you've got a Rogers cell phone.
So we could ask Sudbury to do it for Fairbanks
Yeah.
Lake area.
You
kind of
have
thing.
nothing around Taunton line in that. area.
All right. So,
And then if you head up Chicago Mine Road and others, it's just worse.
so perhaps we can include Sudbury for that request to, endorse our,
That would help.
That sounds like we're talking about more than one cell tower.
Taunton has its own, or Taunton, Rogers has a cell tower out there, which is very odd that Bell didn't put a unit on their tower to. Usually they're both together, you take near and it's got them all.
Councilor McVeigh, do you have anything? Councilor McDonald?
I agree with Wayne.
Councilor McVeigh, didn't we look at one point if landlines were available? Up
We
in
did,
the
yeah.
Sand Bay area.
Just because there was a concern by some residents out there that they needed, they put it as they didn't have a way to make, emergency communications. Which is fine, I agree, but at the same time, you put in a landline. And you'd have, if you were that concerned about it. For $8 a month, you could have a landline at your house, right? But then the people in the community, they wanted their cell phone because they didn't want a landline. Well,
absolutely.
if you were worried about it that much, you could pay $8 and have a landline, like if that was your biggest concern, right?
Well, it's not, if I may, it's not just, the concern of calling 911 for an emergency. Look, we're in 2022. Everybody's got cell phones. We need information. We need, to do, research, on a company or like, let's get with the program. Let our citizens live in 2022, 2023, and not leave them out in the bush with no means of communication. Let's ask for a tower.
I think that the companies who are in the business, are just, I think they would be willing to put in towers if it was financially feasible. They want customers, but we are talking about a small population. Like you said, in the bush, right? They are remote, so they may just come back and say it's not,
Can try though.
you know,
I can give you an example. I myself just switched over to cell phones. I had to take my landline out. Because my wife being ill and all our doctors and emergency doctors and everything have our home phone number. And our phone went out and the supplier I'm with said it would be 23 days before they come to fix it. So if you're in that kind of position, what do you do? When I talk to other people in town that have the same problem? 3 weeks to a month to get your phone fixed.
oh,
My
that
phone
was,
was out of whack, I gotta wait.
3 weeks before they come home.
wasn't that a really big interruption that affected many people this summer? Is that
No,
what
this
you're
was just,
referring
my phone was up.
to? Oh,
And you waited 3 weeks, sorry. Well, you
No, I
took
didn't
it.
wait. I canceled my phone and went to cell phones.
well, I think we have a feel for it. So how would you like the resolution worded? Right. It's directed to surrounding communities. Um. For support. Whereas council has reviewed the other business item shared by Councillor Deputy requesting our township send a copy of the letter requesting that Bell and Rogers install cell towers in underserved areas within our municipal boundaries for endorsement to the township of Guelph. Actually, we have said other for the endorsement to surrounding communities for support. Is that specific enough?
I think so.
All in favor? Who would like to have first that? Councillor Deputy?
I better second one then.
Yes, better. People are wondering what they're paying for. I'm kidding. Okay, so this is to address the complaint alleging that Councillor Deputy accepted donations without council's approval. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor
I
Deputy?
certainly do, Madam Mayor. I have been made aware by our office that there's been a complaint against me exactly for that I acted inappropriately by accepting a donation of 5 trees without the consent from council or a motion to do so. So I found out I don't need a motion to accept that. And for my actions to have been inappropriate, I would have had to conceal the donation from council, which I did not. I informed council of the donation. And I would have had to gain financially from the donation. And being that 3 of the 5 trees that are donated come from a business that I own, I didn't gain financially. I actually lost money financially. So I believe this complaint was maliciously registered against me because the orchard didn't suit them. So when I ran for council, I didn't run to be bullied or intimidated by complainers. And I will not be complained by or tolerate. Through advice from our training by the Integrity Commissioner, he advised us not to tolerate the complainers. He even added that you can block their emails and not answer their phones. And that was an answer from a specific question that I asked him, what to do about complainers. So that's what I'm gonna do about it, Madam Mayor. I'm gonna take the Integrity Commissioner's advice, and I will not tolerate unfounded complaints against any member of this council or any of our employees. Okay, of course, everybody has an opinion. I was speaking with the gentleman just in front of the post office. He said, "Guy, your orchard idea is a good idea, but I'm afraid of theirs, so I can't support it." So we disagreed about the orchard, but he didn't go and complain against me, make a complaint against me that was unfounded. Okay, this complaint is unfounded. I did nothing wrong, and I will not tolerate malcontents. They will be dealt with scorn. That's what I have to answer.
Counselor David, see if I'm hearing you correctly, you're upset that someone made an unfounded
Correct.
complaint
Correct.
against you. Does anyone else want to speak to this?
I just don't quite understand. Somebody complained, you got 5 trees.
That I accepted 5 trees as a donation without council's approval or their motion to accept that
Yeah,
donation.
well, you did it, you could have done it like, say, if we're not even at your council, you just had donated to you, it really, so don't really.
Well, no, because I don't want them for me. I want them for the community
Yeah.
of Narren. And I made council aware of the donation.
Yeah.
And I didn't conceal it. And I'm not making any money, exactly. I'm the one that's paying for 3 of or my business is paying for 3 of those trees.
Yeah.
So I did nothing wrong, and this complaint is unfounded. And it came from a complainer. I would suggest a professional complainer, and I won't put up with this.
Well, Counselor Dave Petit, I'm not sure what you want us to do.
I just want you to be aware, Madam Mayor, that I will not tolerate unfounded complaints against you. That's what I'm saying. I'm very upset about this, and it's ridiculous. The person was ill-informed.
Hang on, Counselor Petit, Counselor.
I
Hudson.
misunderstood the whole thing. I thought the trees were donated to you and you had donated them to the town.
That's,
Yeah.
The 2 trees were donated by Beautiful Field Farms. And 3 were donated by a business that I own. Now, you guys can take and we'll take a vote eventually, but the orchard is probably coming along. But this complainer complained that
It's uncalled for.
it was uncalled for sure.
Well, let me ask, both of you are experienced on council. How many times do you feel that you may have had people complain about something you might have done in your time on council? When I signed up as mayor, I was pretty sure that people were gonna be upset about certain things.
What Councilor McCarthy is saying, to personally pick them out as taking the donation, that's bull.
That's
my opinion.
accusatory, is what you, how about you, Councilor?
I feel, I don't see nothing wrong with it.
Thank you.
Right, no, yeah.
You know, he told us about it, he told me about it.
I don't think the issue is whether it was right or wrong, because if we had an opinion, we would have had to have discussed it here. This isn't, none, the council was not concerned about this. We weren't concerned about Counselor Dave Petit doing something inappropriate. Counselor McVeigh,
No, I back him 100%. I don't think he did anything wrong. I don't think, it would be no different than if, I'll pick on myself. If, the ComSpec said, hey, we have this here, we want to do it, and I bring it to council. It's no different than the business that went to him and said, hey, look, we can do this with you. We're not hiding, he's not hiding nothing. We didn't hide nothing. We're not, he's got no gain by it. So I just think somebody didn't want it in their backyard or something, or didn't want it around them, and they complained to try and find a way to shut it down.
I agree.
I don't know that we really need a resolution.
Nope, just
For this?
it's good for him to explain himself and defend himself.
Yeah, I don't think we were really
job.
concerned about anything, but,
Perhaps I'm a little thin-skinned, because I'm not a politician.
Why would you put your name on the sheet?
I'm not, yeah, but I'm not gonna smooth things over with malcontents. I just refuse. Anyway, that's my little rant for the day.
well, I do hope as a council, we can keep good relations in the community, but I am expecting people to not always be happy with what we do.
Oh,
You cannot be happy with something I do, Madam Mayor. Anybody in the community. And you can voice your opinion to me.
But you felt
don't
this
make
was
an
a
unfounded
personal
complaint.
attack. You felt this was a personal attack.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask you a question? Do you have these trees?
I certainly,
Personally?
do. I have them, they're in my yard, waiting to be planted.
Okay,
So we're gonna.
So you're not
add-
hiding
add
nothing.
to that
So what-
section? Yeah, but we have to- once
Not
we-
at all.
Is there apples on
we have to-
There was apples,
Yeah, okay,
a couple of days before I picked them up,
Oh, yeah.
but the guy, because it was time.
okay. So be it resolved that council move into closed session, actually, what time is it? Because I know that's the. 8:37.
47.
Yeah, for the purpose stated in section 239.2 of the Municipal Act, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and do we also want
You'd
to
have to
add
add the,
council, Parks and Recreation Committee?
it would just be, discussions regarding identifiable individuals.
Discussions. For Parks and Recreation Committee,
You don't have to do that.
okay? Okay. So be it resolved that council move into closed session at 8:47 PM for the purpose of, I already read this. A proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, or B, discussions regarding identifiable individuals. All in favor? Go into closed session.
Normally we go into the boardroom.
Yeah, so let's go into the boardroom session.
take a 2-minute break.
I want to.
Oh.
I didn't like that.
We need it, and I.
Oh, yeah, once you stop the break.
Why not, why not?
Oh, so good. Sit down.
Down our benignant letter.
I'm kidding.
Meeting is over now.
So we don't need to do a resolution for that would be back.
No. We just would discuss, let's say this is what we discussed. And then
Okay, so we were just in closed session. Discussing a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality. Or local board, and a separate issue with identifiable individuals. And now. Be it resolved that the following individuals be appointed to the Community Parks and Recreation Committee for the same term as this current council. Subject to the receipt of a satisfactory criminal record search. And that would be Sandra Whalen, Kate Adams, Paquette, Shelley Lowry, and Amy Boulanger. As an advisory, since she doesn't live in Nairn Center. Gonna list those, all in favor? Who would like to first that, okay, and second? I'm going to.
Yes, disappear.
We didn't have to do that. I guess it's boring.
When it gets around to get. Scary, you only got one eye. You only see only one eye.
Advisory,
You don't go to school, I guess.
No, Julie,
Just sit down.
I take them. to-
yeah, these resolutions just suck the time. And so then we close. We have to inventory bylaw. The being a bylaw to come from the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the township of Nairn and Hyman. You read it first, second, and third time finally passed in open council. And its number shall be 2234. What does this mean?
That's the confirmatory bylaw. It just confirms all the resolutions part of the bylaw.
Okay, all in favor? Be it resolved that the meeting of December 12th, 2022 do now adjourn at 9:21 PM. To meet again on the 9th day of January, 2023, or at the call of the mayor. All in favor? That's it.